Welcome to episode 230 of CXO Talk. I'm Michael Krigsman, industry analyst and your host for this show. Today we are going to be speaking about video in marketing and video in business. And we have two amazing people. I'm going to introduce first David Hoffman, who is not sure what the title would be. It's a strategic communications consultant, and he's a guy who happens to have made about 175 documentaries for television. He's a guy that knows a lot about video. So, David, tell us briefly, what do you do?
I've been doing the same thing my whole career, which is communication. But what's communication? My view is it's not what you say that the audience hears. The audience hears what you say and what they already think. So my whole world is about engaging audiences. Engagement means I got to know who the audience is, and I got to know how they're going to react to any message in any media. These days, primarily video.
Our second guest is Mark Fidelman, who runs a marketing agency. I'm not sure if that's the right term, marketing agency or digital.
Yeah, digital marketing agency. Yep.
And so Mark, hi, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Mark Fidelman. I do run Fanatics Media. Two focuses for us, and very happy to be here, Michael and David, because I love talking about these subjects. The first one being influencer marketing, and the second one being video marketing.
Why video? Why should business people care about video? Why do marketing people care about video? Thoughts? Anybody?
Sure. Video is about emotion. What do you do when you read the Wall Street Journal? You skim it. What do you do when you read a website page? You skim it. We all skim. Nobody reads anymore. Maybe you read at night in bed with a book. So video is about emotion. Interesting statistic, the eyeballs last longer. Any other form of media that's on the web doesn't hold you like video. So if the video has a good story and speaks to a target audience or an influencer, as Mark said, I'm interested to hear what he thinks about that. Then I say video is the most powerful way to affect an audience to make a change. The key thing is this. When the person watches the video, are they a searcher? That's coming from YouTube. So this guy found searchers that search wine, spot him and say, whoa, I want to see that guy. Or is it your friends, like on Facebook? Two very different states of mind. In one case, I'm searching for dog walker and not really the person whose video I'm watching. In Facebook, they already know me. I want a dog walker. They can hit me with a dog walker video, which is why Facebook's sponsored posts are just off the charts successful. People say video should be 30 seconds. Video should be 1 minute, no more than 90 seconds. Let me tell you, I made a video on cancer for a guy who wrote a book on cancer. 9 minutes each clip. Everybody watches it. It has like a 90% viewership. It's not about time. It's about the audience. If the audience cares, and this kid's telling me about a wine that I didn't know about, and here in Northern California, people really care about wine, I'm going to watch the whole thing, and I'm probably going to click on his other videos. It's enormously powerful when you're speaking to the audience and trying to affect something, and you're a good character and you got a good story. I don't know if Mark agrees with that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I kind of look at it a little bit slightly differently because not all of us are Gary Vee. I look at the longer the video, the higher the production quality or the higher the individual charisma has to be.
I'm going to have to disagree with Mark about that. And the
Good.
example I'm going to use goes way back to my youth. I don't know how many of you watching this know Carvel. It was Tom Carvel in New York City ice cream. And Tom Carvel produced these commercials. And the commercial said, hi, I'm Tom Carvel. I'm here in Riverhead. Hi, Joe. How you doing, Joe? You make ice cream. Is it fresh? It was the most primitive and enormously powerful. The same with Crazy Eddie in New York. I learned from that. And I have found experimenting that my most popular videos for clients and for me, sorry for the phone, they're all after me, only kidding. The most popular videos are not the ones that look the best. In fact, production value isn't it. Production value makes me think it's made by a company and it's public relations rather than what I call user-generated style. And I like user-generated style. Michael's talking to me right now, and I'm talking to you right in this little box, just being me, and Mark's being him. That's the most powerful communication in my view.
This issue of charisma, how do we create videos that cut through the noise?
Here's what to think about. Don't think about noise. Think about audience. Mark probably agrees with me about that. When I get down to, I have a video called, it's about the United States equestrian team, made by the team. So I've made it. And in that, one of my keywords in YouTube was falling off horses. 90% of the people who clicked that clicked my video in Google AdWords and watched the whole thing, waiting for falling off horses. So it's about who is your audience. There is no noise. If I have a certain cancer and 50,000 people have that cancer and you've got a drug that's going to help me, you may not have the drug I use, but I'm going to go to you. Don't think about noise. Noise is if I'm selling Pepsi. If you're not selling Pepsi, but you're selling a brand, let's say BMW, it has a target and they have targets within the targets. Is it a woman? Very different. They're still making their ads on television for men. I can't believe that. Is it a millennial or a baby boomer like me?
There's not a single formula for success in breaking through the noise. There is a lot of noise, but I agree with David. You got to find your audience, and if you experiment around a lot, pretty soon you'll be able to develop that audience and speak to that audience. But I still think you got to work on charisma. I think charisma is just a function of, okay, be who you are. There's a guy, he does finance, and I'll look it up in between questions here, that he's kind of dry, he speaks right at the camera, he talks about finance. But this guy's phenomenal. He gets 300,000 to 400,000 views, and he's talking about financial subjects like stocks and bonds and all these obscure subjects that you and I know nothing about, but he makes it plainly visible, and he demonstrates value by just talking in plain English what these things are.
Let me say something about what Mark just said. Really powerful. Yourself. Make mistakes. When Reagan made a mistake at his press conference by saying, look, I don't know the answer to that, he said to this member of the press, his ratings went higher than they had ever been. I think 76% of the country supported him. Be real. The issue on the web with video is authenticity. If that authenticity comes from a very well-produced, beautiful musical comedy, okay. If it's come from you talking at the end of the day, you're tired, a little bit of circles under your eyes, but you're real, you'll work with the audience. Mark also has a part of his business I really am fascinated by, which is the influencers, because what influencers do, and there's a lot of statistics on this, if somebody's going to watch 30 seconds, but it's coming from an influencer, they're going to watch 4 minutes. Yeah. The influencer has enormous power. And I put them in front of the camera. First of all, I make sure they're looking at me, the camera. This is video on the web. Don't look off like it's the press. It's not the press. Press is over here. I can see that. I'm here. I'm talking to you right now, right into the little green dot on my Mac. That's real important. Second, I start off by saying from behind the camera to the guy, so, are you nervous? Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. Be nervous. It's not bad to be nervous. You're nervous. You're on media. That's good. It's good to be nervous. The other thing I say, which will help you all, I think, who have to go in front of the camera, think future. Video isn't about the moment. It's about the future. Somebody's seeing this in the future. Therefore, what do you need to say where a month later, a year later, 5 years later, it's going to have meaning for that person you're trying to reach?
Well said. Well said. Michael, I want to ask David, live video. What do you think the difference is between recorded video and live video?
My vote is some people are good live. Other people are not. The introverts of our world tend not to be. Mark and I are more extrovert than Michael is. Michael has learned how to give his personality and rhythm and add credibility without really attacking you or being as aggressive as Mark and I are. So my vote is, if you're not good on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, don't do it. That's not something for you.
So would you even ask, would you instruct them to kind of practice it to see if you'll get good, or there's just people that are good live like Broadway, and there's other people that are good on screen because, they need to practice their part 15 times before they go on?
A lot of times we're selecting characters on the phone. We're not seeing the face. So I use things like, hey, do you like your work? And if the guy goes, No. He's not good in live. The live people have definite thoughts about everything, even if they change their mind. I really like this burger. I don't know what it is, but the burger, wow, that's a certain kind of person. He makes a definite statement. So my vote is you're not so good on live if you want to contemplate. It's not a contemplative medium.
Yeah.
You know, when I started CXO Talk, the concept was live from the start. And David's right. I am actually pretty introverted, although I've gotten used to doing this.
I could be moderately good on video. My mother is terrific. One of the best political campaigns of this last season, I think it was in South Carolina or North Carolina, a woman put her mother on to talk about her. So always go to the most credible, authentic, charming character. Talking about you is better than you. Corporate leaders could do that. I mean, they got to be human beings also. They can't just be reading teleprompter. I wonder what Mark thinks of the teleprompter.
I don't like using it. I can't use it, or I sound like a robot. And then maybe back to what David said about live. I mean, it's not a complete tell, but if they're good on stage and can captivate an audience on stage, I've seen most of them make the transition to live video, and they've been great. Sometimes they're not. You know, looking into an eye of a camera is not a natural thing to do. You really have to get used to it.
We have a question from Twitter. And Arsalan Khan says most companies are thinking about video for their external audiences. Is there a difference if you're creating video for an internal audience?
You bet. Really good question. Two examples, because examples help. When, who was Jane Fonda's first husband? Tom something or other. That guy, the senator. When he was first running for the Senate, he said, I knew there was a problem with American car companies when my father, who worked in a Chrysler plant, bought a Honda because he saw a Chrysler commercial on television he didn't believe. When you speak to your internal audience, you got to go right for it. If you're firing 1,000 people and you want to make a video that helps the other 19,000 think they're safe, you got to acknowledge, I feel awful about this. You feel awful about this. You see what I'm saying? The credibility factor gets even higher when the corporation is talking to itself, because that's where the people know the truth. We all know that.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm running a big corporation, I agree with David. I would probably do a lot, probably live and recorded at the same time. I do some kind of a 3-minute pitch to my employees, and I'd make sure that I talk about the relevant items of the day, the week, the month, where we're headed. You know, it's such a powerful thing to do, and you can distribute it internally pretty easily and connect with every single one of those employees.
I was doing a commercial for Sikorsky, and Sikorsky Helicopters, part of United Technologies. And who got most affected by this commercial? They had to sell 100 corporate helicopters. They did that. It was the employees. Why? Because in the commercial, I honored the people who made it. And all of a sudden, the employees felt worth something. You know what? You give a guy a raise, $25,000, $30,000, not going to change his life. You do something that his wife and kids, or her husband and kids, can see at home, can feel, I'm proud of what my dad or mom does. Enormous change. That's really what video is about. So the employees matter. Mark is absolutely right. It's a really powerful tool, but better be believable.
I want to know, how do you tell a story?
Well, I'll jump in, but I think David's going to be better at this than me because of all of the stories that he's told in long form. But I always like to look at the classics and draw lessons from the classics. You know, how they invoke emotion, villains, good endings. You know, why do movies like Star Wars connect with us?
I'll tell you what really does it. First, start at the opening. This is such a male thing, but it works for females. And tell me what you're doing. When females sometimes start stories, to each other particularly, they wind the story out. That doesn't work in video because nobody goes back. So if I don't start off by telling you, what I'm going to tell you now is a thing I learned that has worked for 100 people. Now you're set. Okay. If you don't want to hear it, and this comes the other key thing, you have no earlids. So if you're listening on a podcast or you don't turn the video off, you're still listening. Even if you're doing other stuff, typing on the computer, you're still listening. Your ears are amazing. So I say, make the story of interest to the audience. Tell the audience up front what it is I'm about to tell you and why I feel it might be of some value to you. And then run it in such a way that I'm surprised. People, kids love, everybody loves, oh, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, twists. Yeah. Yeah. Great idea.
How many people go to Taco Bell laughing? How many people go to Taco Bell because it's cheap and they can feed the kids? How many people go to Taco Bell feeling a little bit guilty that maybe it's going to make them fat? Who's your audience? That's what you want to do. You won't believe this, I've taken YouTube ads that are 3 minutes long. You can click off in 5 seconds. And I've got 50% of the audience watching the 3 minutes because it doesn't look like a commercial. It's not trying to sell you anything. It's pretty much the kind of videos you make, Mark. They're not commercials.
But how do you feel about conversions on those, David? I mean, you find them converting? It's one thing to show a funny 3-minute segment, but are they really going to sell your audience?
Who do you want to reach? They say everyone. It's rarely everyone. Yeah, if it's Taco Bell, it's everyone. But if it's a nuclear power plant device at a GE or a heart device, that ain't everyone.
Let's talk about YouTube. And let's talk about, we have a question again from Arsalan Khan, who really raises a great point. He says, do video analytics help influencers become super salespeople, or is it just gut feeling?
I think it's both, really. I mean, I look at what the influencers are studying. I know what we're studying in terms of analytics. You can see how long they watch your video on average. You can even do it at the individual level if you've got the right tools.
Analytics I use heavily. Now, I use 2 types of analytics. I agree with Mark. YouTube's pretty good, really good. Seeing where did somebody drop off? Where did most people drop off? X number drop off in the first 15 seconds. They're not your audience. X number lasts the whole time of the video. Interesting. X number drop off 32% in. That's also interesting because they might have lasted longer. So I do use analytics, but then I do something really strange. I call somebody who's watching it. I ask people, can you watch that video? I'd like to call you. Because what people say gives you far more insight into the emotional reaction they're having. Which if you said to me, okay, David, what's the most common reaction? The most common reaction is, he's not talking to me. I don't know why I'm listening. I don't know why I'm watching. That's not good. That means either the person doesn't understand the audience or he's got the wrong audience. In some videos I've done, I get a 5% viewership. 5% don't click off in 30 seconds. But I want the 5%. I'm fine with that. Those analytics really help.
David, how can we humanize our videos, which gets directly to the point of authenticity that you raised earlier?
I say resonate with the audience, which is the key, with the people watching, by being, I'm not saying real, because that's the wrong word. That means honest. You don't need to be honest. Honest, sometimes good, sometimes not good, but real. Like, I'm not going to tell you right now why I know my Taco Bell is made with better ingredients, but I know it. I can just take it as a given. That guy I trust. I can't. If you want to see what not to trust, watch commercials on television. Everybody who's got a DVR is speeding past them. The advertising agencies, can you believe this, are still ignoring that that's what their viewers are doing. They're saying, well, we got 750 million views. They did not. The people are DVRing. The commercials are unbelievably fake for the most part, even when they're faking being real.
David and Michael, what some of the, because I work with brands a lot, maybe David does as well. I'm sure he does. A lot of them are afraid to make mistakes. I mean, I'm doing a series of 12 episodes for a company now, and my God, everything has got to be perfect. Now, fortunately, it's still coming across as somewhat authentic, but there is no room for mistakes. You can't make a mistake, or else there's serious repercussions. At least they're telling themselves that. So I'm wondering what David thinks about that. And I think, from what I've seen, that's the majority of brands that are producing their own videos. Less so about influencers because, they know the influencers already got a big audience. So they don't care if they make mistakes with their own audience. But if it's coming from the brand itself, I'm finding they're afraid to make mistakes and therefore not willing to take that step to authenticity that you're talking about, Dave.
You remember there was a Time magazine ad once, which had a 2-paragraph thing coming out of an oil company or something. And every single word was crossed out and changed. And the answer was, don't get a group to write a script. But you know that in the brands, oftentimes, pass that over to PR. Oh, God, don't ever pass to PR. Pass that over to marketing. Oh, would you pass that to the legal department? So he's got this other business, influencers. They can say the things, make the mistakes, be the real that you can't be. And to me, I don't know how many agencies actually do what you do, Mark, but it's a very appealing way to get around the silliness inside the corporation of making a mistake.
I mean, personally, for myself, I work also with large companies and as well as with startups. And I think that fear of making mistakes, which is the desire to appear perfect and to present the image that we don't have any vulnerabilities, it's such crap because the reality is that, I mean, seriously, right? It's bullshit.
Just look at United Airlines. Can you believe United Airlines? That CEO ought to be trained by Mark and I and you, Michael, to be a human being.
They train the feelings out of their CEOs. That's what they do. I've seen their training. It's ridiculous. Another good example would be Tylenol when they came out, after somebody had poisoned Tylenol. That was a good, I think, response to it. But we still see these corporate hacks, these executives that are towing whatever legal line that the PR company has told them, and they come across as unauthentic, and people don't believe them, and it just makes matters worse. And I think, David, you've highlighted what happened at United. It's case in point.
As Mark and I both know, to understand a brand is a critical thing, and they may provide great insights to that. But to communicate to an audience requires the audience you're communicating to, which these public affairs people don't have a clue about. You put those two things together, and you make messaging. You make power on video, in my view.
I'd like to go back to the notion of building an audience. And I realize that it all starts with understanding the audience, communicating to the audience, evoking emotions and being trustworthy. But I want to know the cheap tricks. I want to know how I can get more people to watch my stuff.
The easiest and fastest way to build an audience on YouTube or Facebook video is to invite them to subscribe and give them an incentive, do something that will get them to subscribe to your videos. Because on YouTube, unlike Twitter, when you subscribe, most of the time, depending on whether YouTube's hiccuping or not, most of the time they get an alert that there's a new video been posted. Hey, go take a look at this, and they can watch it on their mobile. They can watch it at their desktop. For me, YouTube is probably the number one place most people should be focusing, followed closely by Facebook video. But if you think about it, YouTube has got a big advantage with SEO value.
Mark, once we've got a video and we want to market it and we want to put it out there, what's the best way to do it?
Well, I mean, David stole my thunder, as usual. Influencers are the best for two reasons. One is organic reach. I mean, because they're introducing your video to their audience. It's all organic. Second, you can pay for it, and you can pay for it on Facebook and YouTube. And Facebook will be better targeted, but YouTube does a great job of targeting as well. So that's another way, very inexpensive. You can get it down to a targeted audience to 2-3 cents in some industries per view. I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, you couldn't do this a couple of years ago. And then thirdly is share it on your other channels and encourage your employees, especially if you're in a big organization, to share it internally.
The employee base is enormously powerful. Their spread is so great that when you're lucky enough to do something that you ask them to through, employee engagement programs, ask them to share, it skyrockets viewers that mean something. Not just viewers that mean something.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day, and we will see you soon.